I want to introduce Chicago Autism Network and Kimi Matsumura, who's the owner and founder. Kimi, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Evie, for the introduction. Really glad to be here tonight. I have a long history with Bluebird Day and ice landing, and it's kind of fun. It's been fun to prepare this and kind of look back on our journey, our autism journey, and where we've been and where we're going. I'm going to take a second to share my screen. Give me just a minute. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay. So for those who don't know me, my name is Kimi Matsumura. I have lived in Chicago for about 17 years now. My family, I have, my husband and I moved here before we had kids. We have 3 kids, ages 9, 11, and 14, who all just went back to school this week, and that's lots of fun. When we were, let's see, it would be about 10 years ago, my sister moved to Chicago, also to be near us. Also, her husband was going to school, and we were really excited. While my sister was here, she started having concerns about her son, Eric. And I just want to show you a little bit about my buddy, Eric. Hold on. This is my nephew, Eric. This was him probably about 10 years ago. He is a fun and unique kid. He loves swimming, climbing, and Nilla wafers. He is amazing at math. He has this thing he does where, like, if he sees an array of things, like if he sees like a grid of squares all together, he can just look at it and tell you exactly how many there are without stopping to count them all or to like calculate. He can look and tell you. It's awesome. He's a really kind and observant kid. He's also a sensory seeker, so he loves sensory input. He loves motion and tactile things. He has limited verbal skills, limited eye contact, and limited interest in socialization. And he was my first real introduction to what autism was. I remember when my sister was going through getting him diagnosed, she was nervous and she was scared. And I remember telling her, you know what, though, this doesn't change who he is. It just changes what kind of services you can get for him, and getting that autism label. He was diagnosed when he was 2.5 years old. He is still one of my favorite people. He can always make me smile. But he was my first introduction to autism. My daughter, May, is a year younger than he was, and she is very different. This is May from many years ago. She still loves Disney's, all things Disney. She loves dress ups. She loves beach time. She is an excellent artist. She has a really fun and unique sense of humor. And she's always been just very individualistic. So growing up, when she was younger, I remember someone once told me, you know, May is the most unique kid, and she like doesn't care what anybody else thinks. She is off in her own world, and that's just her. And that's kind of how we all thought of May. We thought May was just kind of a diva, that she wanted things very specifically her way. And but it was we know I did notice she had a speech delay. So we tried to do a bunch of supports on my own. And then I went to early intervention, and she started speech therapy. And I remember she had a really big vocabulary. Like, she knew words like astronaut. Her older sister was big into space themes. So she talked about astronauts and all the planets in the solar system. And the people coming to evaluate her were like, we're here for speech therapy. So she's kind of been an enigma, or she was in the beginning. Like, we couldn't quite tell if it was just a speech delay, if there was more to it than that. Now that I look back, I recognize there were definitely things to notice about her, how she was hypersensitive to sound and taste. And she had definitely had a hard time with change. Um, she wanted to socialize on her terms for sure. And I remember trying to feel the same way about that I did about my nephew Eric. That getting an autism diagnosis wouldn't change who she was, but it just enabled her to get the support she needed. But I remember being nervous and scared, and I had a lot of doubts about what I was doing, and I felt like I needed help to know how to best support my daughter. May ended up getting diagnosed with autism at the age of 3.5. And it was kind of something we had to work really hard to get for her since she was so borderline. But we were so glad that she did. When you get diagnosed with autism and you start treatment, we all know there is a whole list of supports out there that you can get. There's ABA, there's speech, there's OT, there's developmental therapy, there's all the things out there. And it can be hard for a new parent to know how to navigate everything. I feel really very, very fortunate that after my daughter had aged out of early intervention, she'd gone to IS Landing for speech therapy. And it was her IS Landing speech therapist who kind of nudged us towards getting that autism evaluation. We were also very fortunate that she was diagnosed probably she's 11. So about 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, we were very fortunate that Bluebird Day was very small. And the week she got her diagnosis, we got an open spot into Bluebird Day. It sounds crazy now to say that it worked that quickly, because I know there are wait lists and you have to wait to get in and get your spots. We started Bluebird Day the next week. And we were also able to find a fantastic in-home ABA therapy company. We had wonderful support staff. We had parent training. We were 100% set up for success. I also had my sister who had her autistic child. I had a friend, my good friend, Dr. Rachel Lofton, who used to be on the Chicago Autism Network board. She is a clinical psychologist who specializes in autism. I had another friend with 2 boys on the autism spectrum, and I was constantly talking to people, and I couldn't get enough information. And but I felt very, very blessed and fortunate to have all the support that I had. But around the same time, I met a couple other families that had kids my daughter's age who didn't have the supports that I had. They didn't have the ability to access this kind of therapy. And it made me really sad to see the stark contrast between what my daughter was able to get and what her kids were able to get. So just kind of deep diving into this, the problem with what our kids need and what is available to the majority of people. So I just want to ask, so the National Research Council has suggested that kids, for young children, they get a certain number of hours of therapy per week. Does anybody have a guess at what that might be? I can't see the chat, Evie, if you can see. So it's not the 1 to 5, not 5 to 10.
It's 25 to 40.
Yes, it's 25 to 40 hours of therapy per week, which we all know because we've all been in the world, right? So 25 to 40 hours of therapy per week. I remember telling people that when we first entered into the autism world, and people were like, that's like a full-time job. And yeah, that's what my daughter goes through, and that's what we get for her. And it's such a blessing to be able to get that. Autism prevalency in the US. How many kids in the US have autism? Is it 1 in 150, 1 in 88, 1 in 59, 1 in 44, 1 in 36? Anybody know?
What about 1 in 36?
It is currently now 1 in 36. So, and the funny thing is this is where it has been. These numbers have all been true at some point in time. I put the dates of where they were. This year it went to 1 in 36. When my daughter was first diagnosed, I think it was 1 in 68. But yeah, so we are finding more and more kids are on the spectrum, whether that be through an increase of cases or just better recognition and better testing. So then also we look at, anybody have a guess at what the median household income in Illinois is?
Probably around the 50 mark.
Actually, I think it is in other states, it's closer to 50. This, I think in 2022 was 72,000 per household income, which is better than we would expect. I also kind of would have guessed it's somewhere in the 50s, but it's about 72,000 in 2022. But if you think about how much therapy costs, so if you need 25 to 40 hours of therapy per week, if you don't have insurance, that is easily over $125,000 a year. With insurance, we all know families still have to pay the max out of pocket, which is typically somewhere between $7,000 to $9,000. If you're on a marketplace plan, if you have to buy a plan through Obamacare, currently the best plan that I know of is the out-of-pocket max is $9,100. So if the median salary is $72,000 and you're spending 9,000 of it, 9 to 10,000 of it on therapy and supports, clearly that creates a problem in access if our median income families will have a struggle accessing this life-changing therapy. The inequality, as I thought about it, just kind of made me really upset that low-income families get maybe through early intervention, they can get maybe 1 to 5 hours of therapy per week. And you can also get services through the school district if you get an IEP. But we know that through the school district, quality varies, therapy hours are often shared, but families with insurance and enough funding to support it can get that 25 to 40 hours of therapy per week. They can get highly qualified therapists with one-on-one therapy. And I saw that, and I wanted to create an organization that would fix this problem, that would fix this gap. So instead of people having to wait and not get this therapy, I wanted an organization that would help families access this life-changing therapy. I wanted access to resources, information, and programs. I wanted to help families as they navigated their new diagnosis, because I know I needed so much help. I also wanted to highlight the beauty in autism. And I also wanted an organization that I felt was fiscally responsible with donations. And I remember I watched at the time I was watching an autism video blog. And around that time, it had come to light that there were some other nonprofit organizations that revolving around autism that didn't fit these criteria. And people were getting kind of upset with how money was being spent and how they were framing autism. And the host of the podcast just kind of said, we've heard a lot of concerns about nonprofit organizations. And the host just said, my advice to you is, if you don't like what you see, you should start your own. And that really struck me. For your information, I have a background in dance education. I do not have a business background. I don't have a nonprofit background. But I really wanted to do this. And as I talked more with my husband, we decided that this was something that I should take on. And so we started Chicago Autism Network. Our mission at Chicago Autism Network is to strengthen the local autism community by helping families find and afford effective autism therapy and supports. Basically, it's everything I wanted and still want, and in a way that I can share with the local community. So some of the things we do, our website is a hub of information that is growing every day. I'm going to stop the share and share to my website real quick. Let's see if I can. Okay. So this is Hold on. Sorry, I can't see the screen. Hold on. Our website is here.
It has it up on top.
Do you
Chicago
see it?
Autism,
Okay,
yeah,
now I can see it.
ChicagoAutismNetwork.org.
Yes, so this is our website. This is kind of the things that I wanted when I was looking for things. So we're going to go first to resources. We put together a collection of different kinds of resources that people might want if they have a special needs child. So how to navigate the world of IEPs. This was done by Leah Dunleavy, who used to be the director of IS Landing. A fantastic article here, basic autism Q&A. We have financial resources. This is a page dedicated to let people know where they can look to get support for autism therapy, whether it be for the insurance premiums or for out-of-pocket costs. There are all sorts of different groups and support programs available that people don't know a lot about. So we have information there. We have, coming soon, we have a directory. I felt like when I was looking for a place for my daughter to get diagnosed, I felt like I had a part-time job researching each company, finding out who had the shortest wait time, filling out all the paperwork to get registered and on that wait list. It was too much. What I wanted was something similar to Yelp, where I could say, I'm looking for a diagnosis for a 3-year-old near me that takes my insurance, and I wanted a list right there of providers that could do that for me. And so we are putting that together now. We have the framework coming. We're just entering in all the information. That should be coming hopefully by the end of the year is what we are hoping for. We have information about our mission. We have information about our sponsors, our board of directors. We have our therapy assistance grant application, which I will talk about more. We also have something we offer a lot of is parent workshops. About every month, we have a specialist come in and talk to us about different autism topics. So September, our parent workshop is going to be done by Meg Cooch, who has a really long title, but in short, she is the Illinois Department of Disability Services deputy chief of staff or something like that. She's going to come talk to us about all the services that we can get through Illinois, through the state, and how to take advantage of that. We have a whole list of things we have done. All the highlighted workshops can be found on our YouTube channel or on...
It's time to improve your writing game.
Okay, so that's our YouTube channel. They can also be found on our resource page for our workshop archives. So we have things related to speech and social engagement. We have navigating a new diagnosis, everything from how to find your services. We had Laura Mraz come and talk to us about all the different kinds of therapy and when to use what, navigating insurance for children and adults, just a whole wealth. And sometimes I'm thinking to myself, what do I want to know more about autism? And I look up a specialist who can talk to us more about it. So selfishly, it's very helpful to me. But I know that we're all a lot in the same boat where we benefit from each other's information and each other's research. And so I wanted a place to be able to share that. But the biggest program that we have is our therapy assistance grant program. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint real quick. Also, I want to share about our expo before we go to the therapy assistance grant program. We have an expo every year that we team up with the Answer Inc., which is another local nonprofit organization. Last year was our first year doing it in person. We had over 300 families join us. We had over 50 or 60 exhibitors, so different resources and programs for the local autism community. We had free developmental screeners. We had in-person parent workshops. It was just a great gathering of people. So if you're interested, I hope you will join us for that. That's always a great event that we hold. But the most important program that we have, I feel, is our therapy assistance grant program, which offers approximately up to $8,500 in assistance to help autism families cover insurance premiums and or out-of-pocket therapy costs each year. So this program, to date, we have given close to $200,000 in therapy assistance grants to local families. It's helped 13 children to start intensive autism therapy, including families at Bluebird Day and Ice Landing. We've helped 21 children continue receiving services that they wouldn't have been able to afford without assistance. We've assisted 6 families in paying off medical debts accrued from ABA therapy, allowing them to be able to continue their services. And we've helped 5 children pay for neuropsychological evaluations that they needed updates for to get the treatment that they needed. And I know that's a lot of numbers, but another important part of our mission is we want to help the underserved communities. So 94% of our grantees have been individuals of color, with 42% Latinx, 31% African American, and 23% Asian. 92% of our grantees have had income levels below the poverty line. And 62% of our grantees live in the Chicago city limits, with 50% living on the south and west sides. So we're really dedicated to making sure, we know we can't reach everybody, we wish we could, but we want our funds to go to those families who need it the most. And you can see the numbers, but the things that speak the most, I think, are the words of the parents and the families themselves. So this is a sweet child named Esteban. His mom said, "My biggest dream for him was for him to be able to say his name." And she said 3 years passed and there was nothing. And after he started therapy, it took 6 weeks. And finally, we were able to hear him say loud and clear, "Esteban." Thank you so much for helping us and giving us hope. There was one year we were able to support Trevor and Tyson, who are twins. I think they were about 11 or 12 when they received a grant, and they started receiving therapy, and it made a big difference in their lives. And their mom talked about how the support helped them. And she just barely emailed me last week and shared with me their graduation from 8th grade. They are starting high school now. Their mom said that they are thriving, and she wanted to make sure I gave a special thank you to the Chicago Autism Network supporters and donors, because it changed their lives and gave them hope when they felt like they needed it most. This is a video that an intern created for us. She was interested in our work. This kind of goes through some of what I've already talked about, but also shows you a glimpse into the lives of one of our grantees and what the support they were able to get through their therapy assistance grant.
Daughter was born in about 9 years ago, and about 2 or 3 years after she was born, we started having concerns that she was on the autism spectrum. Right off the bat, she was in a therapeutic day school that gave her speech therapy and occupational therapy and physical therapy and social groups and feeding therapy, like just this wonderful program. We ran into a few other families who had kids with autism who didn't have insurance. So while my daughter was getting 30 to 35 hours of therapy a week, theirs were getting 2. And so that's what led me to start Chicago Autism Network.
Steven is 5 years old. He's ABA therapy. Yes, the big thing, yes, is chewing and talking, because, well, I prefer for him to chew, that talking can come after. Every meal I make, I share it with him and I blend it up.
When they push eat and you're like, oh, you're hungry, you want to eat, great, let's go eat. And so really providing them with an alternative means of communicating and realizing that, okay, I understand what eat means, I know I want to eat, I don't know how to express that. Well, through the use of an AAC device, then they're able to.
Let's take it out of here.
really thrilling for parents of kids with autism to see them hit typical milestones.
It's the color purple, Steven. Boop! You always got purple. Yay! I'm scared. See, that's how I mean when I was said purple.
And we just celebrate the little milestones so much more because we know how hard of a battle it is to get to some of those for these kids. And a lot of kids don't get there without therapy.
Out here.
Getting over 25 hours of therapy a week can cost up to $90,000 a year.
Whoa. Yay, Steven. Here, your turn. Get the ball. Get the ball. Steven, get the orange ball. See, I play with it for a bit, and then he'll do his own thing.
Our main mission is to help families find and afford effective autism therapy and supports. We want to connect families with information, so our website hosts a lot of articles and helpful resources for families of kids with autism. So we have articles written by experts, we have information about financial grants that they can apply for, and we have a video archive of our workshops that we've done, because every month we hold free virtual parent workshops where a professional will come in and talk to us about a variety of topics. We've done potty training and improving speech communication.
Our community and within our world, we expect everyone to be verbal, and if you have something to say, you should say it. However, that's not always the case. Sometimes our kids have something to say, but they don't know how. And so by providing them with that alternative means, it's really something that's really beneficial and that brings me a lot of joy.
We just want to be able to support more families, and we want to get the word out there that we are here for families of kids with autism, because it can be a hard road to walk.
So here's ABA.
So one of my favorite things about that video is there's this point where Steven says purple, and the mom told me later that really was the first time that he had said purple. He'd had just a few weeks of therapy and had been working with a speech therapist and ABA therapist, and he said purple right there, and the mom was so excited. And she was thrilled with the progress her son was able to make. This was from another one of our families. The mom said, my name is Martha. I'm the mother of Marco. He has autism and Down syndrome, is 17 years old, nonverbal, has seizures, hip dysplasia, asthma, is in diapers, and requires the assistance of others to help him throughout the day. I want to thank everyone at the Autism Network who made this grant of $1,000 possible. This money will go a long way to help my family. Marco needs applied behavior analysis therapy to help him with his language, independent living skills, behavior management, and social skills. With our bills and our debts, we would normally not be able to pay this much money for him. Thank you again to everyone who has helped make this grant possible. And this is a sweet child named Noah that we were able to help around the time of the pandemic. And she talks about how she lost her job and she was worried that she wouldn't be able to cover all of Noah's therapy expenses. And she says, words can't express how grateful I am for receiving this grant during this time of hardship. Thanks to your grant, our son continues to flourish and thrive as he continues to receive therapy. You've helped me during a time I myself felt no hope and felt I couldn't help my son, which as a mother can be devastating. And she just says, I want to thank you for allowing my son to continue to thrive. You have a huge impact on families, and I appreciate all that you do. And I feel this really deeply. I have another friend who is also an autism mom. And when her child was diagnosed with autism, her husband was going through medical school. And so they didn't have good insurance to access therapy. So they took out a loan and a debt. And years and years later, they were still paying it off. But I remember her saying it is the worst feeling in the world to know that there is support and therapy and services out there that can help your child, but to know that you can't access those services. So our therapy assistance grant program, our first year we awarded grants was in 2019, and we awarded about $10,000 to 3 families. It was a really meager start, but Marco, actually, the family with the kid that had Down syndrome and autism and hip dysplasia, he was one of those families, and they were so grateful. And we've slowly, you can see, been able to help more and more families until we've almost hit $200,000 in support that we've given to local families. I also want to emphasize we are 100% volunteer run. So you're not going to increase my salary by donating, because I'm not making anything. No one here is making anything. We are giving 100% of our income to funding programs that help the local autism community, with the vast majority of it going to the therapy assistance grant program. We had to turn away, every year we get therapy assistance grant applications. We have to turn away more than we are able to fund. And so we are looking to everyone we can for assistance as well, so that we can help give these families the gift of therapy. But first of all, if you are a family who is in need of a therapy assistance grant, I want you to know that our grant applications are live on our website. You just need to go to chicagoautismnetwork.org/grants to apply. They are due back by October 1st. You can, I highly encourage you send them to info@chicagoautismnetwork.org via email. If you have to submit them via hard copy, I would send them in as fast as possible. And if you can get like a USPS guarantee that it will get to us by October 1st, because it never fails that the post office will deliver a handful of applications to me in November. I think I got one in April this year that was meant to be there by October. So if you can avoid USPS and send it to me via email, that's great. I know that there's been questions asked about translation services. We don't have the application in Spanish or any other language. If you need a translator, you can email info@chicagoautismnetwork.org and request an interview. I will do my best to find an interpreter, and we can set up a phone call or a Zoom call where I can fill out your application for you with the assistance of a translator. And even if you don't need language assistance, if you're not able to fill it out and send it electronically, you can set up an interview time, and I can help you fill that out. But if you don't need assistance and you're able to help us, we have a gala that is coming up. This is going to be our 6th annual gala. It's called a Night of Inspiration, as we get together and celebrate autism and celebrate being able to support local families. You can find, Evie put the link in the chat. Thank you, Evie. To be able to get tickets or sponsorships. We always have a really good time. Last year was a party indeed, and we are excited this year that we are going to have the Naturals perform. The Naturals are a band. Half of the members are autistic, but they are an amazing band, have so much energy. So we're really excited. They will be there. There will be hors d'oeuvres and an open bar and great prizes through our silent auction and raffle. So we hope you'll be able to join us. Tickets are available at tinyurl.com/tangala23. You can also, if you're unable to make it to the gala, you can donate via Facebook or Instagram. You can text Shy Autism to 44321, or just go to our website, chicagoautismnetwork.org/donate. And I hope you know that every penny matters to us. A $15 donation can pay the copay for a full day of autism therapy for a kid with autism. And so it all adds up and makes a big difference. Last few plugs before we go to questions, if there are any questions. On September 13th, our next parent workshop is going to be the ABCs of supports in Illinois, which I kind of plugged in earlier. But they're going to go through and talk to us about all the different supports, like the PUNS list and respite care, and the ways you can get support through the state of Illinois. So if you'd like to join us for that, or you know people who would like to join us for that, feel free to direct them to our website, chicagoautismnetwork.org/workshops. This is all of our contact info, but that's most of the presentation information I have. So if there are any questions, I'd love to answer questions or shoot the breeze about different things.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, anything to add, I could read the chat, or if I could unmute you. I don't know if you could unmute yourself. But we'd love to see everyone join us at the gala. It's gonna be fun.
It's going to be lots of fun while we wait. I'll just tell you, we have for raffle and silent auction prizes, we have tickets to Chicago Symphony Orchestra, to Second City, to Steppenwolf Theater. We have 4 tickets to the Sky Deck. We have we're going to have a bunch of mini cupcakes that are donated. So it'll be a lot of fun. Yes, Second City.
Some wonderful restaurants throughout the city.
Yeah, so it's always lots of fun. People always go home with lots of great stuff.